Hello and welcome back. It's Matt Hoffman or Lord Ned. Today we're going to learn toolbars and hammer. What I mean by toolbars is this toolbar and some of the options up here, and also the texture browser, which is over here. Go ahead and go File, Open, and pick SDK Tutorial. I have included it in the sidebar, and you should also have it from last tutorial. Go ahead and open that up. You should remember how to navigate around. If not, you can use the WASD keys and the arrow keys, or use the Z and mouse look. Okay, first off is the selection tool. This allows you to select brushes. If you want to select multiple brushes at once, all you have to do is hold Control. This is the magnify tool. This allows you to zoom in and out in the 2D view by left clicking and right clicking in a 2D view if it's selected. You can select a 2D view by clicking in it with your left, right, or middle mouse button. You can also use the mouse scroll instead of the magnify tool to zoom in and out on the 2D views and the 3D view. This is the camera tool. To use it, click in the 2D view and drag. I don't generally find a use for it. I find the arrow keys much faster. I find the Z key much faster. If you find use for this, go ahead and use it. I generally don't use it, and I won't be using it in these tutorials. But again, if you like it, if it fits your style, go ahead and use it. This is the entity tool. It'll allow you to place things such as player starts and models. We don't need to worry about placing them right now, so go ahead and move on. This is the block tool. This allows you to create blocks or brushes like these that we have in the example map. To use it, all you have to do is click on it and then drag in the 2D view. You can see that it showed up in all three views here. You can drag it up here, or you could drag it here. You just set your size and hit enter, and it'll create a block. I'll go into more detail on this later, but if you want to play around with it, now you know how. This is the toggle texture application, or the face edit sheet. This allows you to choose a different texture on different sides of a brush. Notice here how we have one texture on this side and one texture on this side, and it's the same brush. Again, more later. These two buttons are the decal tool and the overlay tool. Don't worry about them for now. The last two buttons on the toolbar is the clipping tool and the vertex tool. I'll have a tutorial on them later, but the short story is the clipping tool allows you to cut brushes into multiple ones by clicking it and then dragging in a 2D view and then hitting enter. Again, if you don't know how to do this or you need more help, I'll have a full tutorial on it later. This is the vertex tool. It allows you to drag vertexes around similar to a 3D modeling application. Again, I'll have a whole tutorial on it later. So if you want to know how to use that, just stick around. We'll get to it in another tutorial. Up top we have the 2D grid and the 3D grid buttons. Clicking this button will turn the display of the grids on and off. It doesn't actually turn the grid on and off, but just the display of it in the 2D or 3D view. If you click the 3D grid button, it'll create a 3D grid on different brushes that are selected, and as you may notice, if you zoom out, they disappear. Handy sometimes, most of the time it's not, so just go ahead and leave that off. Here is the smaller grid and the larger grid. It's the left bracket and the right bracket. As you can see, these lines over here get smaller or bigger, which means more precise or less precise movement in brushes. If we make it bigger, we can only snap to these big lines. If we make it smaller, we could go there too. So you can see how this will let you get more detail or more complex brushes as they get smaller, but for now you can leave it on 16 or 32, and you can find out what grid size you're on by looking down here where it says snap on grid 32. The only other thing we need to learn today is the material browser. To get to the material browser, go over to the texture group area, which will have a texture right here, and click browse. You'll be presented with a list of textures. You could scroll through them all if you wanted and look and find what you want, but that'll probably take you a lot of time and you don't really need to do that. There's a simple way to filter textures. All you gotta do is go down to where it says filter and type in the texture you want. Like if we wanted brick, you type in brick and it'd sort anything that has brick in the name or in the file path. This will find you the most of the textures you need. That's it for the material browser. I'm going to have a more advanced tutorial later that shows you how to use some of these options more effectively, what some of the buttons do, what mark and replace do. But again, that's for a later tutorial. So in our next tutorial on Hammer, we'll jump into creating our first room, which will have a player spawn, which allows you to play it, a light, so you have lights and shadows, and a model, something like a chair or a fence. And we'll have sky too. It'll look real great. So stick around if you want. Again, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and email them to us at valvehammertutorials@gmail.com, or leave us a comment on the YouTube, send us a message at YouTube, whatever. Thanks for watching.